Welcome to the club, 'cause you're that kind of nerd.
Hello and welcome to the club. This is That Kind of Nerd, a show unlike any other podcast you heard where three guys talk about stuff. I am your host for this week, Brian Thornton. I am joined by Joshua Burns and CJ Mellon. Say hello, boys.
What up?
Now that I'm part of the club, can I order the sandwich?
No, that's only for the cool kids table.
Always wanted to try it.
Anyway, this is a show where things happen and points are given and you'll figure it out as you go. In fact, listener, I will put 5 points in a nice brown briefcase for you, and sometime during the episode when you figure out what is happening, you'll hear a nice little click, that satisfying metal on rubber snapping open, and you will open the briefcase. And much like Pulp Fiction, it will be like a shining light coming out of the briefcase. But unlike Pulp Fiction, you'll actually know what's in there. It'll be 5 points just for you. There you go.
What sound effect do I have to find now?
You've got to find a briefcase opening. You're welcome. Anywho, moving on, before we dive into any topics, how are you guys doing? Anything new in your nerdy world going on? Anything new in life?
Nope.
Wow, we are just very boring people, huh?
I'm playing video games and enjoying the PlayStation 5 life.
Listen, I have an infant. I need to live vicariously through you two now. So
You picked the wrong two people to vicariously live
Yeah. Yep.
You
Worked
poorly.
Yep. Working
CJ's
a lot.
playing games on his PS5. Josh is working too much. Awesome. All right. Well, I mean, this has been a wonderful trip living vicariously through the two of you. Thank you so much. I feel re-energized and ready to take on the day.
Can a listener just come in and let us live vicariously through them? I'm sure
That'd
our
be
listeners
lovely.
are living more interesting lives than we are.
Yeah, you know what, listener? If you did something interesting this week, or these past 2 weeks, since it's been 2 weeks since there's been a Super Bowl, there's been a Valentine's Day, there's been a Quantum Mania since the last time we met. Feel free to drop it in the comments on social media, wherever you'd like to, so that I can live vicariously.
Brian, if they do that, then they get their 5 points.
No, I set the rules by the 5 points. They need to figure out how the show works. You
All right.
stop trying to bogart my 5-point rule, all right? Anyway, moving on. So, gentlemen, you have topics to discuss. I'm fixing to go last, so I will let one of you go first. You will have to fight to the death to decide who gets to present their topic to me.
No, we're gonna get mine out of the way.
All right, Josh wins because CJ is a weakling man and did not put up any sort of fight.
CJ got up away from his mic. That's the only reason why Josh said anything.
I went to grab a prop.
CJ like fucked off around the room.
I
So
know
Josh,
CJ probably
Josh
tried to
spoke
grab
up.
his wand because he wanted to avocadava you, but it's too late.
was
Josh
nice.
spoke up first. Josh, what do you got for us?
So I was, interneting the way I do, right?
Interneting? I didn't know that was a verb. I love it.
It sure is. And I came across, you know how we always love when like movies are made and then they make some more movies and then they wait for a while and then they make more of those movies.
Oh, depends how long they wait.
Well,
I always love it.
yeah. I mean, I usually like it. I like the idea of it.
Listen, even if the more movies after a long time is a dumpster fire, it's always entertaining to watch the train wreck, right?
Well, let's say the last movie they made was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is where you get Zoolander 2, and this is where you get Anchorman 2 and MIB 3. This is where you get those
to go ahead
movies.
and to go ahead and counter that argument, this is also how you
Indiana
got
Jones
Creed.
and the Crystal Skull.
Creed.
Yeah,
Sure.
he's right about Creed. Creed is the exception that proves the
Exception to the rule, correct.
rule.
I'm
So
sure I could think of more.
we have in the pipeline and slated for 2024 a new Lord of the Rings movie,
Yes.
not including Peter Jackson, and helmed by New Line and Warner Brothers.
Yep.
The War of Rohirrim?
Rohirrim. I don't know. Look, Brian Cox is in it. That's fine. It's going to be characters that we already know. I think when I saw the director is basically an anime director, I went, okay, all right. They're used to kind of grand scope, but that, doesn't really apply. animation to this magnitude ridiculousness. Like you think about,
It's a total of different logistics.
yeah.
Right?
When you just I look, so
Storytelling's
here's
the same, right? Storytelling is storytelling.
I'll fight you on that.
Storytelling's the same, but in terms of look, think about the cinematography and the effects from Lord of the Rings and the Hobbits, and that shit still holds up. Especially the cinematography, but so do the effects, right? And I've no issues with any of the Lord of the Rings or Hobbit movies. I'm like no Peter Jackson, and the people that wrote it haven't really written anything. So it's like Embracer Group is a gaming company that bought the rights to Middle Earth, whatever, the Middle Earth company. So they own the rights for all things Lord of the Rings, Hobbit. It's New Line and Warner Brothers. They have a stellar record.
Can't go wrong with that group.
They're always doing great stuff. I saw something on Reddit that I will share with you briefly because I can't. I would do it no justice describing it. You seeing this?
So hold on, for the visual gag, right? It's a cheetah putting its arm around a deer,
a gazelle.
It looks
baby.
like a baby,
gazelle.
No matter what, it's the cheetah's lunch.
Right,
is the end of the story.
It puts its arm around it, and the baby deer is Warner Brothers. He goes, "Do you realize how fucked you are?"
Yeah.
And the cheetah, of course, is all the Lord of the Rings fans. Yeah, no matter what, they were going to get shit on. So
yeah, they're gonna get skewered. No, and I don't think there's any way Warner Brothers can do anything that makes them look good in this. Like, it is a no-win situation for Warner Brothers until the box office comes in. That is
right.
the only
up until seeing it.
I'm going to go ahead and doubt that this is even going to get released in theaters. Have you seen anything that says it's being released in theaters? I'm pretty sure this is an HBO Max drop.
It's not. It's no streaming service.
Well, it's expected in April of 2024, so I'm sure they haven't announced how they're going to be rolling it out.
It says the very first thing I read said no, it will not be a streaming service release. So theatrical release, right? And you got to imagine this is going to have a $500 million budget, right?
Probably not. It's an anime.
It's not. It's not anime.
Everything I'm reading says it's anime.
What do you mean everything you're reading says it's anime?
Look at the cast list at IMDb. They're all voice actors. It's being directed by an anime director. It is still going to be in the canon of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, and obviously in that world. But this is going to be animated, which tells me even if they do a release in the theaters, it's going to be a limited release with a drop on HBO Max a couple months after.
That is not what I read.
And then
share your source.
Google.
Google
Go to
not
IMDb.
a source.
Go to IMDb.
Okay, that's your source. So just in the.
I mean, I was
chat.
looking at the Wikipedia page while I was talking to you, but yeah, everybody here is cast as voice, including Brian Cox. The writers.
Yeah, I mean, if it's anime, I don't give a shit.
Also, if it's anime, I don't give a shit about it. Like,
right.
I'm not even going to watch
anime,
it.
They can do whatever they want, and I don't care.
Yeah, it's anime. But here's the thing, and I'm gonna fight you on something that you said earlier about the visuals of anime.
What did I say about the visuals of anime?
That it's something to the effect of comparing it to Lord of the Rings, and that it's not a medium that usually does something like that.
It is not nearly as grand in scale.
I'm going to fight you on that. You have
literally,
not seen enough anime
it has
in
no
your life,
scale.
my friend.
It has no scale.
Listen, scale first and foremost. The grand scale of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings is 90% CGI. Just because it was shot in New Zealand and then we pulled the camera back a lot. Like, anime, it accomplishes the same thing. It might as well be anime. I mean, it is. It's animation at that point. It's CGI. And there are... when you talk about anime is not just a genre. Don't give me this look. I'm coming from a well-versed background in anime. I grew up my entire teens and 20s watching anime and watching more than just the shit that was on Toonami and the shit that's on, Adult Swim. I watched all sorts of stuff. There is fantasy anime. There is, that is this grand in scope. It's not all just Dragon Ball Z, which is also pretty grand in scope.
I'm not talking about, and listen, I'm not talking about the size of the universe it's in. It is digital. It is not grand in scope in that it is not real. You can make it whatever you want because it's fake.
So is every single scene in Lord of the Rings.
No, but you have
it's
to have
CGI.
Right. All right. First off, this is all moot because it's anime, right? So there's no reason.
I don't know how this is moot. I'm getting fired up. You know what, Josh? Plus 3 points to you for letting me share my love of anime.
Gives the wrong opinion, somehow still gets points.
I mean, hey, you brought up a shitty topic, but I got to get on my soapbox, so there you go.
I don't think it was a shitty topic. I think I misunderstood.
So let's clear it up. It is confirmed that it is an anime movie, hence why hiring the anime director and the voice cast makes sense. And okay, good, you've hired the right people for the project, right? Which was our initial complaint, which was, hey, don't hire an anime director to direct a movie for Lord of the Rings because the scale you're gonna have to go is with mostly real stuff. Yes, while there's CGI, there's real people involved, and that's a different skill set. And yes, people can cross over, but at the end of the day, probably a bad choice, and if you want Lord of the Rings fans to hate you, this is how you get Lord of the Rings fans to hate you. However, because it is anime, right, I am going to go on the sense of you can make this as big and grand as you need to be. This can be super fun, and you don't need any of the skill set to make it feel like the other Lord of the Rings projects.
Regardless, though, here's the thing.
You're going to get skewered.
You're skewered no matter what. You're screwed no matter what. Because Lord of the Rings fans, much like a lot of fandoms, you could say the same thing about Trekkies. Very protective of the thing. And, there are no other books. There are 4. And, there's nothing outside of that story that we've already told. In fact, we elongated it a little bit too long in the Hobbit trilogy, right? So, I would point you to the Rings of Power television show to see just how well that's going, to tell you how well this is going to go. Because, there's a lot of crossover. Not nobody has, but it is not doing nearly as well as they wanted it to. For the amount of money that they have invested. For the amount of money they have invested in that show, it's not doing extremely well.
The Lord of the Rings fandom has a very weird relationship, though, with an animated series thing, because the 1978 animated version of The Lord of the Rings, while objectively not good, like literally halfway through the film, you can tell they ran out of money.
I think objectively you could say that movie's pretty darn good, especially for a 1978 animated film. Are you kidding me?
The animation quality, middle of the movie, starts falling down because they ran out of money, and they're like, we got to finish with what we got.
That was Bakshi, right? Wasn't that Ralph Bakshi?
I don't know, but people love the movie. They have a very tight relationship with it. They really like it. It's very well regarded. It's bad, but they love it, right? And we all love things that are bad, but somehow we'll cling to it because it's the only thing we got for it, right? The only thing we got for Lord of the Rings in 1976 up until Peter Jackson was this thing, right? So, we loved it because it was the precious. But now with the quality that we have, and Amazon going one way with canon and this going another way with the canon, no matter what, Amazon's going to get shit on. This thing's going to get shit. Lord of the Rings fans will not be happy unless the words Peter Jackson are included within your project. That's it.
Here's the thing you have to remember, and we tend to forget this, and I have to be reminded on it every time I go to TikTok and I see a fan of something that I loved growing up. The people who are adults now, 20s, 30s, all they know is the Peter Jackson films.
Yeah,
that first film came out in 2005. They have no idea about this.
Why do I have to remember that? That's all that. I mean, look, that's all I
had.
But
I didn't have the books. I didn't have this cartoon.
All right, I'm sorry. I had the cartoons and the books. I read those things growing up. But here's the thing. My point is, when we talk about fandoms in general, the people who are the most vocal now are the people who are in their 20s and 30s. The people who Spider-Man was their first film. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2002. I feel like when we talk about fandoms, we do have to take that into account. And CJ, plus 1 point for you to make the point that I was going to make about the 1978 Lord of the Rings is that was all we had, right?
Right.
Before 2005, that was as good as it was going to get. That's all you thought you were going to get. Very much like when I was growing up and I found a VHS of the old 1970s Spider-Man pilot that did not go to series. That was all I had. That was the closest I was ever going to get to seeing Spider-Man in live action crawling up a wall, right?
Right.
So, you're happy about it. And even though I can look back at it and be like, this show's awful, I still love it, right? And whenever you try to break out of the mold, break out of the box, you're messing with people's childhoods. And that's why things like The Rings of Power is not doing as well as they want to. Yeah, diehard Lord of the Rings fans are going to watch it, but they're going to have a lot to say about it. And I think this is going to be the same thing. This is going to be one of those things that is, like I said, if it's in theaters at all, it's very short, pops on the HBO Max, then everybody watches it, and you'll have some people who are like, oh, I actually really liked it. And then you'll have some people who are like, well, they didn't take into account X, Y, and Z, and according to Tolkien's notes, this is
never going to go to a theater, right? We can agree on this. Because
that's not true. It's not true at all.
Okay, what was the last animated Warner Brothers project besides Space Jam of this scale that went to a movie theater?
Why are you talking about just Warner Brothers projects?
Okay, when was the last time New Line Cinema did an animated thing? When was the last time these two companies said, yeah, let's animate something and put it into movie theaters?
Killing Joke.
Killing Joke. Yep, that had a limited one, right? That was like.
But that's my point. They do limited releases all the time. It's still a release.
But the primary way that people are going to watch this,
it's still released to theaters. Just because it doesn't go out to 3 billion theaters nationwide, it's not going to.
That's the one right there. Yeah, this isn't getting a wide release. This isn't going to get a wide release, and you're not going to be able to go to every AMC or Regal and see this thing. It's going to be the one that's got, we got the space for the artsy films, right? They're the ones who are going to release it.
Teen Titans. Whatever the last Teen Titans Go movie.
Teen Titans Go the movie.
Oh, and Scoob was in theaters.
I believe I've made your point, Your Honor. The defense rests.
Tom and Jerry the movie was in theaters before the pandemic hit. There's plenty of shit that they release in theaters
that has the brand awareness and cachet of Lord of the Rings.
I would argue that Tom and Jerry is pretty close.
Just like the Flintstones, because they're still on the vitamins. And if you grab any kid, they know exactly who the Flintstones are. Just like Tom and Jerry. They watch Tom and Jerry all the time.
Sure,
kids.
Because every kid knows what Lord of the Rings is and, what the entire history
But Brian,
of
we're messing with people's nostalgia in their childhood. That's what you just said. So of course they know who Lord of the Rings is. I said that
for the people who are in their 20s. Your argument is they're not going to release this in the theaters because people won't go see it. I'm telling you, it will probably get a limited release, which is my point, which you agreed with. You know what, CJ? Minus 1 point for you for fucking with the judge.
That's fine. I stand by my point. I'll take that.
I don't even know how many points everybody's at. I gotta keep track of this. Hang on.
I had 50, and then Josh had 4, and I just lost 1. So that sounds right.
I don't think so. Hang on.
So Josh, let's turn back to you. Now that you know that this is animated, right? And regardless, they're going to get torn to shreds as we've all come to expect from any fandom anywhere, anytime anything ever gets released. What is the impact of this movie? Like, why would anybody care if they're not a Lord of the Rings fan? If they're not a Lord of the Rings fan, are they going to care at all?
No. And I checked out when Brian got on his soapbox. So I was
Attaboy.
That's when I was done talking about the topic. It's not what I thought it was. I thought it was going to be a Warner Brothers debacle, and this is just a.
Well, let's face it.
Now it's just not interesting because
hold on. Did it die out when you found out it was animated, or did you die?
No,
okay.
it died as soon as I realized nobody gives a shit about anime.
Josh doesn't like animated films. Last time I checked, right? You're not a fan of animation.
I like,
with the exception of like the DC animation.
All of DC animation.
Okay.
I like Pixar.
So is Guillermo del Toro going to come down and knock down your door and say animation is a viable medium, or
I tell you what, I hope he does. I punch him square in
his
face.
Okay, so you're the people in the Academy who say because it's animated, you don't get the award, right?
That's
even
right.
if it's great.
For sure.
Okay.
All right, Josh.
I can argue you on that one and Brian, we're talking about a soapbox.
No, well, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say nobody cares.
I'm just trying to
Sean.
sabotage. I'm trying to sabotage your points.
-1 point for Josh. Animation is an absolute medium.
Nobody cares, Sean. Nobody
Tons of people care. That's why people are debating it.
No.
I think it's a viable medium, right? I
Also
don't think
ran. It's an also ran. It's nice to have. It's absolutely not necessary.
Moving on. So this is
It's for people. Listen. It's
Josh. Keep digging. I'll go.
artists
negative.
need
You'll go
work.
negative.
Artists need work, and because they're such talented artists, the less talented writers need something to do.
correct. Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Those who can't make real movies make animation.
Alrighty. Josh, subtracting 1 other point from you for that ridiculously stupid fucking sentence.
Wow.
In the decade that I've known you, that's probably one of the stupidest things I've ever heard you say.
Oh, it's so much fun.
On a T-shirt, it says that those who can't make real movies make animation, and underneath it says "Fight me," and that's it.
Josh Burns, Michael Scott.
No, you're that guy, that meme. That changed my mind meme. That's what that bullshit.
No. He's not gonna have his mind change. Well, I guess now there's that guy either, so it's okay.
But that's the whole point of that meme is that I'm not going to change my mind. You can try.
This is not. I actually don't have a strong opinion about this topic. I just don't care. What's fun is getting you torqued up. That is really what I'm here for.
I've already listened to Brian privately go on a 10-minute rant, soapbox rant about animation and
+1 point, Josh, for your honesty. +1 point, CJ, for listening to my rant in private. You'll have to listen to it again after this episode. CJ, what topic have you brought to the table? Because we've talked for 20 minutes about a topic that Josh apparently did not give a fuck about. How can we fill the rest of this time?
Yeah, let's talk about a topic that doesn't require research. Therefore, we can't go down the wrong avenue of it. I was looking in my tech collection / tech graveyard behind my wonderful recording setup, and I came across a couple things. That reminded me of a better time in my life, but I think we can all say, "Oh, CJ, you're so stupid."
I can't wait to talk about this shit.
The first one was this digital credit card here that is in the show notes, as well as right now your podcast chapter art called
Did we
Coin.
not talk about this on the podcast?
Hold on.
6 years ago.
It has been a while,
So good.
but who doesn't love making fun of CJ for buying
So
dumb
good.
shit, right? Was the Coin digital
the
credit
Coin.
card, right? As you all know, I was extremely excited about this thing, and it was stupid as all fuck, but I loved every moment of it. The other thing I found was not 1, not 2, but 3 Pebble watches. Now, before the Apple Watch existed, the Pebble was out in the world, right? And when the Apple Watch came out, I had the Series 0 for 2 weeks, and I said, "This isn't good. I will return it."
I'm going
And
back
I
to
got
my Pebble.
2 Pebbles. I got one for me and one for my wife.
Right. Oh my God. And still Josh
This
and I were
is-
like, shut up, you're wrong.
It worked better than the Apple Watch.
No, it didn't.
Yes,
No, it
it
did.
did.
Stop talking.
The Series 0 was a absolute dumpster fire.
You're not talking about Apple Watch. You're talking about when they released Series 0. Which
Series 0, which was garbage.
was that the first generation?
The first generation, the Mach 1 Apple Watch.
CJ goes out and buys a brand new product from Apple, puts it on, which by the way, like inside of a few months became the best selling watch in the world.
Absolutely.
And then he goes, "Yeah, this tech isn't going to make the cut."
No. The software was the problem, right? It wasn't a health and fitness device it is now. The notifications were a mess,
Yeah,
and
you're
it
right.
had to run apps for everything.
You're right.
Everything was an app.
That's the reason you get rid of it, because Apple doesn't ever iterate.
No. The
their-
Series
their
0.
software.
The Series 0. Listen, I am a proud Apple Watch owner now. The Apple Watch Series 0, and I will die on this hill, was not good. And the Series 1, when they redid the next iteration, when they made a better SoC, right, and they decided that apps shouldn't run everything, right, much better. But the first one was not very good.
CJ, we're not saying the Apple Series Zero was not good. I never played with it. You know why I didn't get it? Because I said, you know what? First gen of tech is always a shit show.
That's why I returned it and got my Pebble, which was a fourth generation technology.
So it's always a shit show. It doesn't matter who it comes from. It's always a shit show. I'll wait until Series 1, 2, and so on. I think I got the Series 2 and I freaking loved it. Here's the thing. The argument is not was the Series Zero crap. The argument is Apple was going to update it and upgrade it. Why were you saying, oh no, I'll go double down on the little
because
company
I wanted
Pebble,
the smartwatch.
when Apple is coming out with a better watch.
This isn't even my topic or question.
Oh, but CJ, don't worry. You're getting 2 points just for reminding me of how stupid you are.
Weren't we still working? Were we still working together when this happened?
Yes, we were.
Right,
No,
I think so. And
we weren't. We were not.
You and Brian were at the other place.
Yeah, I mean, CJ and I were. We were at different stores.
No, I want to say it was past our Best Buy time. I'll have to double check the year because I think
it was. I think it was past our Best Buy time. Yes, it was. And here's how I know it was. You guys.
Yeah.
You guys were going to lunch together all the time, and CJ could never buy his own lunch because the coin didn't work anymore.
It wouldn't work at places.
I'm convinced some of those times was a complete ploy to make me buy him lunch.
The thing he bought, the thing he paid for to consolidate his credit cards because no place accepted it. That was fucking great.
So
those are my jobs. CJ, you owe me like 30 meals at least.
He's like the king of picking the wrong tech. He went with HD DVD instead of Blu-ray. He had Laserdisc.
But
he was all about Betamax. He wasn't even born yet.
Actually, we were.
Beta.
No joke. My house was a Betamax house.
Oh my god.
My dad was the nerd who bought Betamax.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Pebble, the Pebble, the coin, the movie pass.
Stop. The movie pass was the best investment I ever made in my entire life. How many movies did I see for nothing?
Oh my god.
Does not mean that it was good.
Listen. We all knew it was a bad thing, right? We're all looked at it going, there's no way this will last. But if the ATM is spitting out cash, you grab the cash. You don't go, that ATM has a terrible design. Of course it does. Grab the cash.
I'm sure you didn't come to get made fun of. What did you want to talk about with these things?
I have enjoyed it thoroughly, though.
Sir, I knew what I was stepping into.
Okay, good.
I knew the first 10 minutes of this was going to be CG.
You know what I do when I see a hornet's nest? I kick it.
Oh, maybe I can adopt the hornets.
Josh, and I'll give you another point for reminding me that CJ owes me a ton of money from.
Oh my god!
So my question
Chipotle
is this,
anywhere.
I have been looking at my tech graveyard as well as just other flops across technology, but I wanted to know from
you have
guys.
Many, as we've established. You invest in shitty tech.
Many flops, many flops. I thought the Dreamcast was going to go all the way. So my question is, looking at your tech graveyard.
Wait, hang on. Before you get to your question. Didn't you kickstart the coin?
No.
I'm almost positive you did.
You did.
I'm almost positive you kickstarted it.
I thought I purchased this for $100.
No, I'm almost positive you kickstarted it.
Whatever. Either way.
Regardless.
What was your question?
So my question is, looking back on your life, right? We have some very fond technology. Either it was our favorite and or most memorable failed piece of technology that you owned or used, right? So again, it's not maybe something that you loved, like I loved my coin even though it was dog shit, but something that was most memorable to you that was failed technology. So I've got the coin, I've got the Pebble, which by the way, both bought out by Fitbit and then bought out by Google and then just murdered and executed. It's just unsummariously killed.
Because that's what happens to small tech.
Yeah, it was a wonderful journey, and I wouldn't trade the laugh that we just had for anything in the world.
Yeah, there's a couple things that I think about immediately. The first is the PSP. Like as much as it was handy, right? And it was, relatively lightweight, for its size, and it wasn't a good handheld console.
It had such potential, though.
It did have great potential, but it flopped, and like I wanted it to be so much better than it was.
Part of it was there just wasn't the content. Like they were not making the games for that system.
That's the thing, is the content, and it was like even the games that were like kind of cross-platform games, they were so watered down, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Right. And it just wasn't, it never really amounted to anything. And that was kind of upsetting. The first HomePod, while I still use it on a daily basis as a speaker. The HomePod in general, the big HomePod, and I have two minis at my desk as computer speakers because they're really great stereo speakers. They're better than any set of computer speakers you're going to buy for, $150, $190.
Yep.
They really are. They're awesome. They are complete miserable failures as conferencing devices.
Yep.
They just don't work. It's a real shame, and like Apple's like, we don't even care to figure it out.
We made another big one just to fuck with you.
The thing that went away that I still lament is Apple networking. They closed their entire networking division, and I was a huge fan of the Airport Extreme, Airport Express. Not that I don't love my Eero, I do. No network problems ever, because I finally just went, I'm gonna just fucking throw money at it. And I did, and I bought an very expensive mesh system, and I'll do it again in a couple years if I have to, no problem. Or I'll upgrade the component network. I don't care. But like that Airport Extreme, Airport Express was the first of its kind, worked incredibly well, time machine integrated, everything was great, and then it died. And I still have all the shit because I'm like, oh, so maybe they'll bring it back one day. They won't.
No, I thought, honestly, something that was going to be on your list, Josh, that you were very passionate about, and I think we can now admit with hindsight, put the wrong bet on the horse there, was your love of the HTC Evo and Sprint's network back in the day.
Hey, so look, I'll never back off the Evo. The Evo was the entire reason Apple had to evolve. The Evo was, to that point, domestically, like the best-selling smartphone around, and everybody had an HTC Evo, the original, black or white, sometimes red. Like that phone was a hot fucking flagship phone. That was badass, and it outperformed everything else around its time. But HTC being HTC, never really, you know what I mean? Oh, we're just gonna do the same thing, and we're gonna call it the Thunderbolt, and it never really evolved.
God, the Thunderbolt. That thing it was the first LTE phone. It had a battery back that was as thick as a wallet.
Yeah, but it was the first LTE phone, and that shit connected fast. Listen, the
immediately.
Sprint's network, I like Sprint because it was great. I never had any coverage issues, dropped any calls. WiMAX was not available in my area, so it never really mattered to me. But the network was reliable. It was inexpensive, like free, and I didn't care. Now it would not work for me based on what I'm used to, right?
I think that was your last Android phone too, wasn't it?
No, my last Android phone was the Galaxy S3.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Mr.
Android
Thornton.
is in my tech graveyard.
Your tech graveyard, yes.
So, I actually had to Google some stuff to jog my memory, because what you need to remember for me is I never had a ton of money. And that prohibits me from buying stupid tech really early.
Sure.
Not because I don't want to, but because I didn't have the money at the time. I have a couple things that I almost went full in on, and I'll share those with you that I'm very excited about. But there are two, one of which I know was a failure, and one of which I think I just jumped on the bandwagon a little too soon. So the first thing that I know was a failure is the Nintendo Wii U. As much as I love Nintendo systems, I love my Switch.
I love the Wii U.
I actually like my Wii U, but you can't deny it's even Nintendo's like,
failure.
we gotta shove this under the rug and get the Switch out as soon as possible, right? But
I actually forgot about it until right now.
I have it. I have it sitting on a shelf with all of my other old.
It's
systems.
actually the handheld machine that a PSP should have been.
Right. It was this merge of,
but again,
couch
content.
gaming and handheld. This was the middle the middle step between the Wii and the Switch. Right. It's like, we want you to be home, but we don't want to go completely portable just yet. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. The Nintendo DS and the 3DS is the best selling handheld system ever. Forever and ever and ever. It is sold so much. And I think Nintendo at the time especially was making way too much money on the DS that they could not say, let's go completely portable, which is why the Wii U exists the way it does. But
now
now that
never
you have
played a DS. I'm sorry. What did you say? Color? What model?
DS and 3DS.
Yeah, I never played a DS.
Really?
Not once in my life.
I got, you're welcome to borrow my 3DS. There's a lot of great games for it, too.
Yeah, the DS was actually pretty good.
The DS is a great system. But they made so much money off of it. So now that the Switch is out, the question is, do we even need a DS? That doesn't make any sense now. So, it's one system to rule them all, but Nintendo has pretty much shut down that revenue stream at that point, because the DS was one of those things, much better than the PSP, Josh. PSP was double the price for not as much content. I think the DS was like $100 to $150 for a DS, and you got, everything you get with a Nintendo. Every Mario game you can think of, every Zelda game that we were going to release on there. The remake of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are on the 3DS.
Yeah. And they're solid ports.
And they're solid, and they're updated, and they look nice as nice as you can get an N64 game to look. So there's a lot of really great content on there. So that's the thing that I know. I bought on launch day. I was very excited about it. I enjoyed it for the short time that I had it for, but I think I have maybe 6 games for it. And then Nintendo was like, this is an utter failure. We need to get this new system out quickly. And now, obviously the Switch is out. The other thing that I'll say that I think, I jumped on the bandwagon a little early, but I had spent a lot of money on it, and it's now kind of collecting dust, is my PlayStation VR. I've got the first PlayStation VR system, and I love it.
You think VR gaming isn't sustainable? Get out of here.
I'm saying it's not where it should be yet. And I will tell you this. I will tell you this. There's a lot of really cool things on there. It's just not fleshed out, right? There's a lot of the games that you got and are on there are like half-hour games. Like, you beat them very quickly.
Seems like the only thing it's good for is getting fleshed out.
I will tell you this. There is Resident Evil 7 came out, and there is a VR version of Resident Evil 7, and I played it. And there is a video of me screaming at a lamp because I got extremely angry.
There's a video of this?
There's a video of me. Actually, I got extremely scared. Here's what you need to remember.
Hello, Instagram.
Resident Evil 7 came out. As I've mentioned on the show before, I'm a huge fan of the series, the genre. I love the Resident Evil games. I played that game 4 times. And I was playing it with Melissa, which is why she has the video. Played it once through, first time through, loved it, and then I started just speedrunning it and playing at harder difficulties, playing it, getting all the items that I can, all that stuff. And then I said, I'm going to play it in VR. I've played it 4 times. I know exactly where everything is, where the jump scares are supposed to be, but I'm telling you, this thing is very immersive, that I did get scared, even though I knew the thing was happening. And the way I would do it is I would sit in a computer chair, much like this, because it's a lot easier to swivel back and forth quickly, especially when you're playing a game like Resident Evil 7, than actually physically moving your whole body, right? So I swiveled around a corner, something popped out at me that I knew was coming, and it was just in my face, scared the shit out of me. And because I'm no longer facing the TV, right? The way the PlayStation works.
Right, you have to move.
You have to move, obviously, but the way the PlayStation VR works is that the person on the headset is seeing the thing, but it's also playing on the TV. So if you're with a group of people are actually watching you play. There's a bunch of games that actually play around with that mechanic, which I like. There's one where like the person in the VR headset is disarming a bomb, and the people on the TV screen have the instructions on how to do it. So you had to kind of walk your way through it. Again, there's a lot of potential with this. I just think I jumped on too early. But because I was no longer facing the TV, I'm screaming at a corner of Melissa's apartment at the time, which had a lamp in it, and screaming obscenities. So there is a video out there. I just think PSVR 2 is coming out. I think I was just too early. I think this VR 2 is going to kind of make things a little bit better, give people more incentive to make games for it. But here, there are two things that I did not get in on.
Yep, the VR 2 is the system that's going to make it okay to be wearing a helmet.
Just so you know, it's already out. It's already out.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
just saying.
I did not say I'm investing in it. I learned my mistake. I'm not buying it right now. We're going to wait and see. There's two things that I thought of you guys on, one of which we talked on the show, and one of which I know we were working together when it came out. Remember the HP touchpad?
Yes.
That shit lasted a week and then got discounted to $100, and everybody and their mother was like, $100 tablet, sure. And like, I remember saying to people we worked with, like, this shit's going to be outdated in a week. You realize that, right? They're not updating it anymore.
I still have one. The WebOS.
I say that ran WebOS, didn't it?
The WebOS operating system was dope. It was really cool. The touchpad could sideload Symbian, which is also very cool.
You could also sideload Gingerbread onto it.
Yeah, you could, but why would you? It didn't have the hardware to handle it, and Gingerbread was shitty.
Yes, it was.
WebOS was a superior software.
Correct.
I mean,
yep,
superior software.
Josh, plus 1 point for having your HP touchpad still.
I do. It's upstairs in my bedroom. I still have it. But the I remember the price drop and the mania that ensued. But yeah, Christian, he used to play with it when he was, a baby. He was not a baby. He's like 4, maybe 3. But it was cool. The same as the BlackBerry Playbook. Same exact idea of really, really great OS and just shitty hardware. I mean, the OS is fantastic. Hardware so bad. And that, if you like, just nostalgia wise, the before every restaurant became Taco Bell, there was,
before the franchise wars.
That's right. There was an OS war, and at one time, I personally had,
we had our hands on everything at that point.
I had a WebOS phone, I had a Windows phone, I had an Android phone, I had an iPhone.
Didn't you have a BBM?
Right,
Didn't you have a BlackBerry?
Oh, no, that's you. You're the only asshole that had a BlackBerry.
No. Hold on. Whoa. Josh, can we explain to the listener, why did I end up with a BlackBerry?
It was
because you made me the BlackBerry person. You said, hey, as part of your job, you're going to be the BlackBerry person. Go to this
nobody
event
else would do
and
it.
get a BlackBerry. And I was just a nerd going, okay. That was it wasn't a choice. I was told by my superior. I did not have the slidey one. I had the new Z10 that had the crunchy screen.
Yeah, that's right. The crunchy screen. That was a fun time in technology when all these manufacturers and the programmers were trying to get their feet under them and just sort of gain some sort of equilibrium. And everybody was kind of, like, everything was inexpensive. Everything. I'm like, there was the idea.
And subsidized. Everything was subsidized.
It was subsidized, but the idea back then that someone would one day pay $2,000 for a flagship phone was insanity, right? Because flagship phones were $500 at most. And like, I'm walking around with a phone the size of a Tamagotchi going, I hope nobody tries to text me on this because I'm totally fucked.
You remember the HP?
The HP Veer. That's the one that I was using. It's the size of a Tamagotchi.
It slid up with the keyboard.
Yep. I mean, it was a 2-inch square,
It was either, are you carrying birth control or is that a phone? Like, it was that kind of.
But it was WebOS, and it was so fast. It was a really good and like I was so pissed off that it didn't, that iOS could steal more from what they did. And they stole the app tray.
The app switcher. Yeah.
Yeah, they totally stole that from WebOS. WebOS was doing that 12 years ago.
Do you know what? Though? You know what still runs WebOS? My TV. My TV upstairs runs WebOS.
TVs run WebOS,
it's good.
It's Linux based, right? So it's super, super streamlined. LG runs, like, all LG TVs have WebOS, right?
Yep.
Some have Android, I guess, but anyway,
I have an Android TV.
That's
yours is Samsung. Yours is Tyson.
No. My Sony TV is Android.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I don't hate the Sony Android TV UI. I think it's pretty. On my XBR, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, but it's not bad.
But I just the franchise wars between the OSs was a good time.
That was the best time to be alive in tech.
But like
that was fun.
But like you knew it would look. There's gonna be one Android thing that comes out on top and one iPhone thing, and then we're just gonna fight with each other forever.
Right. Yeah.
But I like how you guys are keeping them on their toes, Nokia. Good job.
48 megapixels? Okay, good luck with that, my friend. We'll see how that goes for you.
That's a fun techie trip down memory lane. I have plus 1 point for each of you for that exchange because I didn't get involved in it at all. I got to drink my water. One other device that I'm like, oh yeah, that was a thing that did not last long. Thank God I didn't buy it like I wanted to. And we talked about it on the show when it was a thing, was the Ouya. You guys remember the Ouya, the portable gaming system?
Yes, the Android TV game.
Yeah, it was gonna be like $100. It was just all you needed was this box and the controller, and you can play games on the cloud, and it was amazing. And
you were very excited for that.
I was very excited, but at the time I didn't have the money, and I was like, okay, well, I'll get it. It's gonna blow up. I'll get it when it becomes a thing.
That died.
It died so quickly.
What is? I don't remember this thing. What is this?
Hold on. I gotta get you.
How do I spell it?
Ouya. It's pronounced Ouya.
Is a video game console.
It was a video game console. It was a small little square box.
Yeah, it was like an Android box, right?
It was like a streaming console before streaming consoles were a thing.
And I remember us talking about it and be like, this is going to be great for indie developers. You can, totally make things on the cheap. This is going to give the big wigs a run for their money. It's cheap. It's going to have all.
It was a Kickstarter at one point also.
If I kickstarted it, I would have one. I didn't kickstart it, no. But I remember seeing it at a Best Buy one day. It was like $100, $150. It was cheap.
Yeah.
But, bills, so I was like, I could get a Ouya or I can eat. So I decided to eat.
Yeah. You can still buy them.
You can, and you can
root it.
I wanted the PSP to work so badly that I've since bought 2 other like emulator type things. Right. And this one that I bought just last year, it's like a huge screen. It's a monster sized screen. It's a powerful device with like, I don't know, 1,000 games on it. And the problem is what? Guess the problem.
Emulation support?
Emulation. It's like it never executes as well as the game itself.
Yeah.
And
that's where the Steam Deck will solve your problems.
When your muscle memory is 36 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you're like,
I press jump now.
Yeah, now is when I press B. Now is when I press A. I know exactly when to do it. And listen, if you have fucked up my punch out timing, and that is not okay. Like I know it's not me that has messed this up.
No, I pressed the button.
I've been doing this for 37 years. 36.
Yep.
This is your fault. And so I have this emulator thing sitting upstairs. I'm like,
it probably runs Plex because everything runs Plex.
It does run Plex.
See, I told you.
Well, CJ, I'm going to give you another 2 points because that was a fun
really
discussion. And listen, we got to make fun of you. We got to reminisce. No, that was good. That was good. I appreciate it, and you still owe me money, jackass. Anyway,
Not gonna happen. Gonna happen.
so listeners, as we are approaching the hour markish here, or depending on editing, maybe 45 minutes. I don't know. My topic is pretty big, and I think it's best served for another episode. So I have somehow decided to steal away the hosting duties for next episode. I will be hosting again next week. There are no winners yet. CJ, you are
Only losers.
First time I'm ahead, and we're gonna we're gonna suspend the rules, and we're gonna do this again next week.
We are
just so we're aware.
We are going to no, it's okay. We're going to continue with the points that we have right now. So just a reminder again, CJ, you are currently leading the way with 8. Josh has 6. Melissa has 6 for still keeping that Resident Evil video. Listener, we're at the end of the episode. If you didn't figure it out already and get your 5 points, you get nothing. Good day, sir. So we're going to continue this discussion into next week's episode. I will remain your host, and we will see who the winner is going to be, who will earn the right to host after my amazing hosting abilities in next week's episode. So until then, thank you so much for making us your folding laundry while you are listening to our podcast. Or perhaps maybe you're showering. Maybe you are just walking around the house wondering, what the hell should I do next? Or taking a walk around the neighborhood because I don't know where you're at. The weather's kind of crappy here. You can go ahead and cut out that second thing, CJ.
Stay in.
No, it's not.
That is.
No, it's not.
Staying in.
So thank you, listener, for making us your walk around the house trying to figure out what you're going to do next. I am your host, Brian. This has been That Kind of Nerd, and we'll see you next week.
Well, welcome to the club, cause you are that kind of nerd.
Hey, did you figure out how the show works yet? Okay, you did? This is for you.